Welcome back, everybody, to Top Tier Studios. This is the 6th episode, and in this episode, we're going to basically be finishing the first area. We have been working for in the past couple episodes on this city area. We've created a Dodgem ride, we've created a dueling double launch coaster, and we've created a bunch of other buildings to go along with it, including a fire station, a police station, and in this episode, we're going to be continuing this until we're at the end of this area. And the end of this area is going to feature one more flat ride, which is what we're putting in right now. So this is going to be the Sky Ace ride, and the only reason why I really put it in here is because of how the ride skin already looks. It has this really actually it's a really small scale, like Empire State Building looking building here. So that's kind of why I put it in here, but that's what we're going to go with, and it's Sky Ace. So I haven't named the coaster yet, that's pretty much it. We haven't named the coaster, so if you guys have any suggestions for that, let me know. But it is a cops versus robbers theme, and also, if you guys paid attention in the last episode, there is a POV at the end of this episode for that coaster. Since we are going to be completing this area, it would only be fitting to have it. And instead of doing a separate video for that, I'm just going to put it at the very end of this video. So that's what the idea there is. And in this episode as well, and we're not just working on this flat ride, we're going to work on a couple more things, which we are moving on to right now. So one of the things that I tried to do last episode was kind of fill in this area between our bumper car ride and the down where we put our second flat ride, that Sky Ace, just a second ago. And I tried to use facades and like the billboards, and I didn't like how that turned out. So I'm actually gonna make real buildings, and they are gonna have purposes here. So that first one, we just kind of put in an entertainment spot. That's where Chief Beef, we're gonna have him as an entertainer there. That's where his post is gonna be, I guess, and you guys, like, the guests could go and up to him, and that's where they could find him. And then in the middle of this like high five roll that we have, that actually goes in between the or goes around the top of the police station that we made in the last episode. We're making another building under that, and this is gonna be a hospital type themed area, and that's gonna house another staff building, and it's also gonna house another, well, it's gonna be the first one. It's gonna be a first aid building, because it really wouldn't be a hospital without like a first aid type thing. So that's where that's gonna be located within the park. And this building kind of looks like it's from like Batman almost. It's a really kind of grimy, rundown building, but it's like really actually kind of looks cool in the end because of all the stone and stuff and like the color it has and also the textures. So I like how it turns out. It takes a little bit of the livelihood away from the area, but that's kind of what we're going towards, because our next area is going to be kind of like this, and that's kind of the idea that I went for as well with these buildings. I really wanted it to kind of start to morph into the next area, kind of make it a transition that would be really nice. And another thing that we're also doing is placing down a bunch of trees and stuff, making sure that it's all nice and green back there. We just don't have a bunch of blank space, so that's happening as well. So as we finish this up, we're actually going to be doing one more building in this episode, and it's actually going to be probably one of the most unique in this whole park, and that's because it's going to be like a construction building, and you'll see a little bit later what that means when we actually start working on it. But as I said, that's kind of going to feed into our next area, which is going to be I'll give it away to you guys. It's going to be a haunted area. So we're going to have a haunted ride, and then that's going to be where our Ghostbusters area is going to be located. So you can see right now we are at a pause, but it's okay. Because I guess I had to do something or whatever, you know. But now we're just putting in the signage here, which is the first aid building, which will actually be called a hospital. But we have like that cross, like the plus sign, I guess, but it's more of like for the, like, it's the logo for a hospital basically. And just a second ago, I went and walked down the pathing just to make sure like it's how I wanted it to feel, and I think it really does look good from a people's perspective. But now that we have this building here, we have to do a little bit more custom supporting for the orange side. luckily the blue side I didn't have to do, but this orange side I did. So that's all we're doing right here. Just this will be the last part for this building, and then we'll move on to our next building. And we're actually about halfway through the time lapse now. We have that last building to make, and then we're gonna kind of cover this back area with trees just to make it feel a little bit more like it's starting to get out of the city and into more of a countryside almost, I guess, 'cause that's where it would be. But we're gonna try and continue the city vibe as well, because the Ghostbusters setting is in a city, so that's kind of what we're gonna like. It's gonna be like a rundown city almost is what I'm gonna go for in the next couple of episodes, and then off to the side we're actually gonna be making like a haunted house. So that's all to come later on. I don't want to spoil it too much, so I'm not going to give away the specific rides that we're making or the specific things you guys can expect besides the Ghostbusters. But we are finally moving on to our next building, which is this this building is under construction. It's just a big brick house, I guess, a bunch of just brick walls, and there won't be a roof on it, and it'll just kind of be like I'm putting a roof on here now, but it won't be there because I think it adds a little bit more to this construction area, and it makes it a little bit easier to kind of theme it to. And there's also going to be some scaffolding around it and a bunch of triggered effects as well. And I think I cut the triggered effects out for this episode, really just because there was a lot that I decided to put in here. Besides, the only other triggered event on this coaster would be those opening elevator doors going into the little jail cell where you transition from the cop to the robber. So that's what that's the only other triggered event. So this is going to be a heavily triggered area, and walking by would be really cool as well, because you guys can see kind of the triggers that are happening. And we got some also smashed glass area that the coaster's traveling through, and it serves as a really good head chopper for some of the riders. So especially on the blue side where you're coming through this, what we're working on right here, the first wall that you go through is actually a head chopper. The second one I couldn't put a top on because it wouldn't make sense because the wall's not that high. On the orange side, it's really just coming over the top of the building. There's nothing too crazy, but the triggered event for this one is a little bit different than the one for on the other side, and that's just a little bit of keeping the ride separate and unique. But then again, it is the same ride, so I wanted the ride experiences on both sides to be a little bit different. That's really just because you don't want it to be the same ride over twice, because that's not really all that fun. And another thing that we're putting in here is some scaffolding, as I said a couple moments ago. Now, this scaffolding, I carried on to the actual street that the guests will be walking on. I put a curb there so that they wouldn't be like glitching through it, but hopefully that doesn't affect like guest flow, because that could be a problem with like having guests just kind of bottlenecking here. So hopefully that won't be a huge problem. Now we're actually going to get to placing these triggers. So this studio pack was very helpful in this. I used a bunch of the stunt people and also this garbage container here. So basically the idea for this triggered event is that the robber track is going over the building here, and as it's going over, a construction worker gets scared and falls off the top of the building into this dumpster. So both of those are triggered events that will be happening, and you guys can see that when we ride the coaster later on at the very end of this episode, which is only in about a minute and 15 seconds anyway. Yeah, so we're doing some last minute stuff. And then on the blue side, the cop side, basically the triggered event over there is just some ducking construction workers. So that's the idea there. And then we had to put in a little bit of safety stuff with those fences that are going in there, making sure that people aren't able to get to the coaster because, exploring teenagers and stuff, they'll get to it, and that could be kind of bad. So the last thing that we're going to do in this episode is basically fill in this area with some foliage, and we're also going to kind of theme up the Sky Ace ride that we have back here. So the trees are going to be around it, and we're also going to be putting some plants back here, and we're also going to be putting in a nice little cover. It's kind of a little bit of a rundown. It's really just a really simple cover, really. So that's pretty much it for this episode. We have a couple seconds left of time lapse here as we finish this area up, and as we do, I can say that we are going to be heading to a little video with the POV of the coaster. It is in track view because it is way smoother in track view, so hopefully that doesn't hinder the little ride experience that you guys will see. And probably at the very end of the series, I'll be putting out like the POVs for all the coasters, like almost all at once, so that you guys can like go and ride them instead of having to watch the time lapse again to ride it. And you can also see it with the rest of the park. So that is pretty much it for this time lapse, as I said. So I can say thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I know I did. And make sure to have an amazing day. Peace.